One Piece Chapter 1090 finally kickstarts the very first battle between Luffy and the Gorosei. This is a monumental moment to Oda's endgame for One Piece, as the Straw Hats have taken care of the Seraphims, CP0, and captured York off screen. However, things don't look as rosy as they seem, because they are surrounded on all sides by 100 marine ships which carry 30,000 men, a Gorosei member, 10 vice admirals, and an admiral himself in Kizaru. However, when Luffy gets a call from the world government trying to negotiate, he reaffirms his Yonko status by telling them to retreat with their entire fleet if they care for their safety. In fact, Luffy is so Chad that he doesn't shy from blurting out their exact numbers and giving the enemy all the information they asked for. Luckily though, there is a person with a brain on the crew in Robin who quickly stops Luffy from giving away their intelligence advantage. But Luffy's foolishness and naivete of asking the Marines to leave quietly, thinking that it will de-escalate the situation, is the very reason he has his Nakama around. As even Usopp explains to Luffy how they shouldn't underestimate the Marines. The Marines, on the other hand, take Luffy's underestimation of their might as an insult, leading the fodder guys to get furious. Like, this dude legit thinks he's gonna beat a Yonko with a shotgun. I bet even the farmer from Dragon Ball would beat you, bro. As Luffy hangs up the call, Gorosei Saturn lays out their objectives in coming to Egghead. There are 3 things they must protect. Number 1, the physical safety of York, which is because she has the know-how on how to create Mother Flame, which is fuel to Imu's weapon, Uranus. Number 2, the power plant which produces said power source. And number 3, Punk Records, which is a library of untold scientific knowledge Vegapunk has gathered throughout his life, as it is his literal brain. We all know how Vegapunk is known to be a man whose tech is 500 years more advanced than the stuff in the current world. So the world government gaining access to Punk Records would be like gaining a steroid shot to their scientific advancement. Saturn continues saying that other than those 3 things, everything else holds no value and can be lost. To which the Marine officer is dumbfounded to, as there are still Rob Lucci, Kaku, the Seraphims, Pacifistas, and even the captured Cypher Pole agents there. Why does this Buddha not care about any of that? Aren't the Seraphims supposed to be the mightiest weapons of the world government? Like, they freaking rival the warlords in power. Why would they want to throw all that away? Well, the simple answer is that with Vegapunk's brain and York's instructions, they can always rebuild these things. Also, what's the point of fretting over guns when you literally have unlimited island-destroying nukes with the production of Mother Flame? The Seraphims were only the strongest weapons in the government's arsenal until the weapon test on Lulusia. Also, with the Marines' question about the Gorosei's priorities, we get a new layer to their character and perhaps the Celestials themselves. Saturn says that humans are no different than insects to him, as even if their numbers go down, they will just multiply again. The way he phrases this sentence is pretty eerie, as it sounds like he himself isn't human. We already have hints regarding the Celestials not being the true residents of the current world of One Piece, from their spacesuit attire to them not being able to breathe the air of the lower realms. So this could be a further hint by Oda that something is very sus with the origins of the Celestial Dragons altogether. However, this also gives us a clue to his upcoming fight with Luffy. If they do fight at all, Garcia's zone versus Luffy's will highlight the reality between the two. Sun God Nika is very human-like, whereas Garcia is simply just a beast. We saw in chapter 1086 how fierce the silhouette to his devil fruit looks like. With the title of being one of the 5 Elder Stars and transforming in a battle against Sabo, he must have insane combat abilities. But what could they be? Well, Oda in chapter 858 already showed Saturn's zone form, which looks very similar to the silhouette we see of him later down the line. Just look at the face of this bison Luffy is facing. It even has the same scar as Jay Garcia. If it's not obvious, Saturn has a bison zone. But not any old bison though. It is a mythical one, being the Ushi Ushinomi model Gyuki. Gyuki? I think it's Gyuki. This creature comes straight from Japanese folklore, where it is a buffalo demon. It's a large and dangerous beast with bovine head and a demonic body, which already fits the theme of Imusama being the true devil of the world masquerading as its king. But the biggest hint to Saturn having this mythical zone might be the actions he's taking, where it is said that the Ushioni appears on the seashore and attacks people who are passing by. Doesn't that sound familiar to the situation in Egghead, where Kizaru has been sent to infiltrate the dome and Saturn is passing by on the seashore? As soon as the dome is brought down, the Straw Hats will try to evade the Marines, which would be the perfect time for the Gorosei to transform and attack them while they are passing by. Let's be honest though, Gear 5 Luffy is beyond broken. It is so strong that Oda will have to be very careful in showing its true potential. Like before the big fights he's gonna have against the final opponents in Imu and Blackbeard. As powerful as the Gorosei might be, they are still facing a Yonko. Bro might turn into a mythical buffalo demon, but Luffy trumps all of that through his Legend of Nika. What I'm trying to say is that Old Man Saturn is gonna be sent straight to Saturn with Luffy's Bajrangan. But before this happens, we learned that all the Denden Mushi conversations between Egghead and the Marines are being listened on by Big News Morgan, Vivi, and Wapol, who are floating right around Egghead Island. Which, by the way, could only mean one thing. Vivi and Wapol will end up linking with the Straw Hats when Morgan gets his scoop and doesn't need them anymore. He will throw them to the Straw Hat ship, or knowing Vivi, she would just jump out herself. And then they will go to the moon, guys.
Oh, here we go again.
Yep, that's right. This is further proof that the moon arc is coming. We are gonna meet the supreme leader himself, Enel, once more. There will be cheese there. There will be moon baddies. Everything will be great.
Okay, back at it again. Go take your medicine, Sid. Let's go.
Yo, where are you taking me? The people need to know. Don't let them silence the moon theory. Join the brand new AVD Discord now to be part of the moon gang. Link in the description, guys. If the theory comes true, Yusuf said he's gonna get me Chick-fil-A. Anyways, we gotta bring out the champagne now, because we have confirmation of 2 new deaths in One Piece.
Impossible.
Yep, that's right. Lilith goes on a mad one, as Shaka and Pythagoras are actually dead while the rest of the satellites are heavily injured. Meanwhile, Lucci is acting a little sus, as he whispers in the corner to himself. Why is this man talking to himself? He definitely has some kind of an ulterior motive, man. But the ones who don't look injured at all anymore are the CP agents in the basement, who have become eternally grateful to the Straw Hats for feeding them and saving their lives. Just like in every arc of One Piece, Luffy has turned these people to his side, and with their knowledge of the inner workings on the government, it's possible they will come in handy against a strategic way to deal with the 30,000 Marines present at Egghead. Maybe the officers will see the real Straw Hat pirates instead of the evil, crooked portrayal of them by the government propaganda, as the seeds to this have already been planted, with the Gorosei telling one of them of how little he thinks of his soldiers. Funnily enough though, this kind of reminds me of a situation we had in Punk Hazard, where instead of capturing the scientist, they are saving them. And much like Smoker and his merry guys who ended up partying with Luffy at the end, in a way, we have Rob Lucci, Kaku, and the rest of the captured Cypher Pool Zero agents kind of doing the same, giving further evidence to the establishment of the Neo Marines at the end of One Piece. Along with the now revived CP agents, we have the Seraphims, who have been encased inside Vegapunk's bubble technology to make sure they don't start acting out again. Stella explains that the bubble is pretty freaking OP, as it shares the same properties as Sea Prism Stones, which means that if a Devil Fruit user were to get caught up in it, then it's GG for them. Also, we learned that the reason for Frankie and Usopp's depetrification is because S-Snake is in love with Luffy. Yep, this man's Riz is so strong that just by being him, he can override the command hierarchy of a Seraphim. Oda purposefully gives a flashback to Luffy's request to S-Snake, and amazingly, it's nearly identical identical to when Luffy begged Boa to save Margaret and her friend. Boa, being cloned, didn't just pass on her biological makeup, but also desires and personality. A thing to note is that S-Snake also obtained Boa's devil fruit powers, where there is an idea on how these devil fruits are imprinted with their user's will, much like Sabo carrying Ace's will through the Mera Mera no Mi, or Luffy with Joy Boy's Nika fruit. All of this is thematically in line with this arc in Vegapunk's science, not being able to control the natural will and instincts of living creatures. But although the Seraphins have been dealt with and York is captured, there is one more hurdle to the Straw Hats' escape from Egghead. The Frontier Dome is still active, meaning if they try to leave, then they will be shot down with lasers. So in order to escape, the Straw Hats must disable the security system, which is locked by a password York has set. But to that, Stella is pretty confident that he will be able to figure it out. Basically translating to that he's gonna hit the forgot password button, click the link in the email, and change it. But after the lasers are disabled, there is still the marine blockade. But that's of no worry due to Gundam, which is stationed near Sunny, conveniently. Once the gang boards the ship Vega Force 1, they will fly to the end of the Egghead airfield, where Frankie will activate Coup de Burst to fly another 1 kilometer away, completely evading the blockade. Then from there, they will go to, can we get a drum roll, please? ELBAF. Let's go! The excitement of going to ELBAF isn't just exclusive to Luffy and Usopp though, as we were all looking forward to this upcoming arc. However, this plan just solidified how ELBAF is the parallel to Fishman Island and Egghead is to Sabaody. The parallel here is that instead of going down to the sea, the Straw Hats this time will be going up, flying through the sky. We mentioned how they might go to the moon, but this plan to fly away from Marines still correlates with the invasion of the two arcs. But they're going to the moon. The dichotomy between Fishman Island and ELBAF might even give hint to the location of the Atom Tree, which we believe is located in ELBAF, much like how Sunlight Eve was a fundamental component to Fishman Island. Egghead being the parallel to Sabaody will also mean Luffy has to fight Kizaru and win, as the first time they had failed miserably against him, and this transitionary island will separate the pre-time skip Luffy and the post-time skip Luffy altogether. This upcoming fight follows through as Lucci's so-called whispering is revealed to be bro was just feeding info on everything that happened inside the dome to the Marines outside. Even the location of Mother Frame's power plant has been leaked to the Marines.
Are you serious right now, bro?
With this information in hand, Garcia orders Kizaru to go past the Frontier Defense Dome alone, as being made out of light, lasers don't really affect him. However, Borsalino isn't too thrilled as he has to go through his good friend Sentomaru. But Borsalino notes that his invasion will trigger the order for Vegapunk's Sea Beast and Pacifistas to attack their 30,000 men. The casualties of this would be enormous, but we already know the Gorosei sees this men as just insects, so that doesn't really faze them at all. So the Marine forces ready their weapons to take down the Sea Beasts, while Kizaru blasts off into the dome, striking Sentomaru head on. Kizaru's attack is so massive that Luffy is alerted of the enemy's arrival. Luffy's face looks shocked, as he has felt this presence before, and the last times he felt this presence, he had the two worst days of his life. The first one was at Sabaody, where he thought all of his friends had died, and at Marineford, the three admirals, including Kizaru, blocked his way to save his brother Ace. However, Luffy is a different beast now. If Kizaru comes in and tries to fling his lasers at our boy, then with Gear 5's power, Luffy will just turn the light into rubber and just throw it right back at Kizaru, much like he did with lightning against Kaido. All of Kizaru's attacks can be rendered useless. Like, his lasers will just become normal rubber bullets, simply bouncing off of Gear 5 Luffy. And Luffy will be able to use the terrain to easily block any surprise attacks coming his way. However, you might say, there is one situation Kizaru does trump Luffy in: speed. With the power of the Pika Pika no Mi, Kizaru moves at its speed, which ain't no way Luffy can ever match. Let's be honest. However, Luffy can react to his level of speed and just grab the light before it hits him. How? Well, with Future Sight. This literally gives Luffy an idea of where Kizaru will attack and be out of there before Kizaru even gets there. Even if he teleports, Luffy will know. We have even seen a number of characters like Marco, Whitebeard, and Rayleigh be able to counter Kizaru's light speed, which likely happens through their use of observation haki. And this is all before we even start to put Luffy's imagination into play for this fight. Luffy is constantly thinking of new attacks and bringing new things into existence, as we saw with the formation of his special glasses. Kizaru is definitely getting bodied if he goes against Luffy here. But if you want to know what happens if Luffy fights every single Yonko, then click the video on screen right now. And if you want to hang out with us and discuss why my moon theory is correct and Yusuf should get me Chick-fil-A, then go on the Discord. We have a new Discord and it's a lot of fun.